So thank you for those watching today. I'm doing another, I think this is our third ACMM student interview. My name is Lauren Howe and I work in the ACMM coaching team and also in the marketing team. And today I have the joy of getting to talk to Chad Dobson. Chad is a self-employed telephone technician and he's transitioning into a role as a holistic life coach, incorporating meditation coaching, teaching and guiding. And he's coming to the tail end of his course, his advanced certificate with ACMM. Chad lives in Lake Macquarie, New South Wales, which is 20 minutes south of Newcastle. And Chad shares a little bit with me about his personal life. So he's happily married to Erin and he's got 3 kids, so 2 here and 1 in spirit. And his kids' names are Will, who's 14, Lacey, 12, Noah, who passed in 2019 at the age of 6. And Chad also has 2 dogs, a Kelpie named RJ and a Border Collie named Luna. Thank you for joining me, Chad, for this chat today.
My pleasure.
Lovely. We're going to jump in and I would love to know what attracted you to ACMM and becoming a meditation teacher?
To be honest with you, I already had a meditation practice which helped me navigate a really stressful period of my life, probably a 7-8 year period. And I think it's only natural if you find something that really helps you to navigate those particular periods that you then have an urge to just want to share that with others if that can help them as well. So it was really based on my experiences of what I'd experienced meditation to actually be and the benefits that I got from it personally that then led me towards wanting to further share that with other people.
It's beautiful. I can really connect with that and I find a number of our students come to the course because of that impact it's had personally, the meditation practice, particularly during challenging times in our life as well. So yeah, I can really relate to that. And yeah, you sort of mentioned about meditation's impact on you, but I'd love to sort of explore that a little bit more about how it's impacted you on a personal level and some of the benefits and even the challenges that you might have seen along the way.
So benefits wise, I would say it's certainly calmed me down a lot. If I look back in that 7-year period that I was talking about when we had our son who was born with congenital heart defects, I had a lot of different compartments in my life that I was trying to keep up with in that period of time. Obviously, I had my family life, which was probably what a lot of people would term as abnormal because we had a very unhealthy child with his congenital heart defects. I was self-employed, so I was trying to run my own business, keep the family financial, whilst also supporting my son, my wife, and my other 2 children. And at that time as well, I was actually coaching football as well in a W League academy, which is W League is the women's national competition in Australia. So I was actually coaching one of their teams as well. So there was a lot of different compartments to my life where I was probably in some of them I was keeping up appearances. I probably felt like I was trying to demonstrate to my children that you can do whatever you want to do, but you have to put in the effort for it. But at times I probably was keeping up appearances, mainly in the football coaching side of things. The business itself was stressful enough as it was, and then throwing in on top of that, having a family situation with a child with a chronic illness. So there was a lot of stress, and what I find as I look back is just how incremental that actually is, the stress and the toll it takes on the physical body. It's not like you wake up one morning and all of a sudden you're at 100 on the Richter scale of feeling stress. It just creeps up on you, so you don't actually realise it's there and it's happening. So it enabled me to deal with that. The first experience I had with meditation, I was actually doing a course that I was led to. It was called Boot Camp for the Soul. And one of the challenges, or maybe not a challenge, but something that they were trying to get us to do through that course, was to do something that you'd always felt like doing or felt like you'd been led to, and you never actually took that step, whether that was taking a guitar lesson or going to a dance class or going to a meditation class. And around that time, I actually was in a cafe and I saw a flyer from a local Buddhist group here around Newcastle, and they were running some drop-in meditation classes. And I was really taken aback by how just going to that one class on a Tuesday night and sitting with a group of people, listening to a few Buddhist teachings and doing 2 probably 20-minute silent meditations, just how much effect that actually had on me for the rest of the week, how much that actually calmed me down. As I progressed through different groups with meditations and things like that, you start to get more connection, I suppose, with, I call it your higher self or your soul. Some people call it universal intelligence, whatever you want to call it. And I suppose it really came down to me. There was a time there where, so I'll go in and I'll tell you a story about the type of life that I was living at the time. I'd come home from work early at 2 o'clock one afternoon, and my son was home from school. This was Noah, and he was incredibly unwell. And I walked straight through the door, and my wife said, "He's not very well. I'm not quite sure whether I need to call the ambulance or not." He's very blue around the lips, and he was struggling to breathe. Now, this is 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I just come home early from work. So I'm in a reasonably jovial mood because I'm home early from work, and I'm wondering about what the afternoon's going to hold for me. And then I come home and straight away I'm thrown into that situation with what we both knew at that time, with the way that he appeared, seemed like a life-threatening situation. So I said to my wife, "Yeah, I think you need to call the ambulance." So we're then trying to calm him down on the lounge. The ambulance turns up, and it's a guy that I actually used to play football with. And he says to me, "What's going on?" And I said, "Well, I've just come home from work and he's not real well." And then straight away he stops me and he says, "Mate, I just need to stop you there. Does he normally look like this?" And I said, "No, he doesn't." And he said, "Mate, we're 12 minutes away from John Hunter Hospital. If we put the disco lights on," as he worded it, "let's just chuck him in the car because this is way above my pay grade." And I said, "Okay, no worries." So then there's the negotiation between myself and my wife, who's going to go in the ambulance with him, because our other 2 children are at school. They're going to have to be picked up from school. They have football training on that afternoon. I'm actually supposed to be going coaching myself. And we've got this unfolding situation where Noah's having to go to John Hunter Hospital, and a lot of uncertainty at that point in time as well around what's actually transpiring. So Erin goes in the car. I'm then moving into the role of going to pick the kids up from school, which I do, which is tough for them as well because they come straight out of school and they jump in the car and they obviously see my face and they get told, "Hey, your brother's just been taken to hospital. Things aren't looking real well for him, but maybe we just need to get you home. You need to have something to eat and then we'll take you to training." So we did that. I got them home from school, took them to training. I actually arranged for somebody else to coach the team that I was supposed to coach. So I had really great support in that regard. And obviously I'm on the phone with my wife seeing what's actually going on. with Noah as he gets up to the hospital. And then the kids' training finishes, and I say to my wife, look, I'll stop, we'll get them some dinner, and then we'll come straight up to the hospital. So this is probably around 6:30 at night. So this is 4.5 hours down the track. We stop, I get the kids something to eat, then we turn up at the hospital, and I ring my wife, and she says, just come into the emergency department. We're in one of the resus bays, which is a resuscitation bay. So, okay, no worries. So I go through and I take the kids through. Noah's there. He's not in great shape, but the doctor's there, and his paediatrician actually come down to see him as well. Said, look, give us 15 minutes. We probably need to go and sit in a room and have a discussion here. So that time there, we go into that room. I've just sort of said g'day to Noah and given him a kiss and rubbed his head sort of thing. And we go into that room, and the doctor says to both myself and Erin, he's not very well. He really needs to be down at Westmead, the Children's Hospital at Westmead, which is where all of his cardiac team and his surgeries have taken place. But he's not actually well enough to go in the helicopter to get down there at the moment. He's not stable enough. So it's a real catch-22 that we're in here. He needs to be down there, but he's not well enough to go down there. So the doctor then says, I'm trying to give him until 10 o'clock. The Westpac Rescue Helicopter are aware of the situation. They're ready to go whenever he's ready to go. But obviously he needs to be stable enough to make that flight, and I need to be convinced that he's stable enough. So there's other than negotiations that go on between me and Erin, whose turn is it to go on the flight this time? I've never been in the Westpac Rescue Helicopter, so it's my turn to go. So at that time as well, I'm trying to scramble in my mind and figure out, okay, what work have I got on tomorrow? What job do I need to put back? Who do I need to contact to put things back? Because I'm still trying to run my business in my mind while I'm dealing with my family issues and dealing with what's going on internally for me as well. So I end up in a flight with Noah. We fly down where obviously we fly at a lower than normal height because he won't handle the pressures and things like that. We get down to Westmead, and I always remember this, we walk down through all the corridors and we go into the paediatric intensive care unit, and we're sitting in there. The doctors receive him, they check him over. They're happy with how he's been presented. The two helicopter pilots, the pilot and the co-pilot, and the nurse that came down with us, they say their goodbyes, wish me all the best. And then we're sitting there in this paediatric intensive care room. The doctor leaves the room. I can still see it. The nurse is sitting there on the left, and she's typing up some notes about what she needs to type up. And I look over at Noah, and he's starting to close his eyes and finally go to sleep. And then I'm sitting there, and then this voice comes through to me, like the higher self that I mentioned before. And it says to me, this is the reason why you began to meditate. And that is, that's like, for me, that's like the world just, that was like a bomb. And it said, you needed to be able to sit with yourself in this moment.
Sort of just sitting with that as you share that, Chad, it's sort of really, thank you for sharing your experience and story and a little slice of your life and how meditation has supported or come through in that, but just the gravity. I was just really with you in that story, just experiencing that, and could feel my own experience. So just acknowledging and thanking you for giving that insight and that beautiful story, and connecting, and how that message from your higher self came through, and how powerful that was. To sit with that.
Yeah, thanks. And sorry if that was a little bit long-winded, but it really needs to be told in its entirety to gather the context of what was actually going on, and just how many moving parts there were, and how do you actually deal with that within yourself.
Absolutely. It's not just one. It's like you said, there's so many things happening, and there's work commitments and other kids and yourself, and trying to manage all these things while being in this experience with your child who's not well, with Noah. So I think you in that beautiful story, and not long at all, but I think is just so appropriate to explain exactly what was going on, and I think makes this message even more powerful, I think, as I hear that. And it's one of the most powerful messages I've heard about just how meditation has impacted someone, not necessarily on the cushion, but off the cushion in our day-to-day life.
You can only join the dots looking backwards at times as well, though. So, I mean, if you had have asked me that question before that experience, I may not have been able to. Well, I probably would have come up with an answer, but it may not necessarily have been as deep as that.
Sometimes that, what I'm hearing is sometimes that spaciousness and stepping back, and when we can reflect on things, we see what else was going on and what else was true for us in those moments. So
yes, definitely.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I know that I know that you've got plans for the future, or maybe that are happening now, in terms of what you're doing professionally or plan to do professionally in the space around meditation and grief and things like that. So I'd love to hear you share a little bit about that, if you can.
Look, as you said earlier, I am transitioning into holistic life coaching. It is something that I've studied side by side with the ACMM course. And so I currently have 2 people that are actually filling out paperwork. There is a bit of a 10-day diary at the start of that process to move into the coaching. I will be starting also a meditation group that'll work hand in hand with the holistic life coaching. And I also started in July a group for bereaved dads called Help Me Stand. So we met at the start of July. We'll be meeting the first Friday of every month in person. Unfortunately, Newcastle and most of New South Wales went into lockdown on Thursday the 5th of August. I know it was Thursday the 5th of August because we were supposed to meet again on Friday the 6th of August. So unfortunately we didn't get to meet that second time, but the group was actually growing from that first meeting. And I would be more than happy to do some meetings over Zoom, but the feedback that I'm getting from the men that have attended that first meeting is that they're not all that comfortable with Zoom and technology. So I also need to honour that as well, and not try and force those guys into something that they're not actually comfortable with. But what a real honour for me that those men are actually turning up and honouring themselves as well, to try and make sense of something that to the logical mind doesn't make any sense, that you could actually lose a child in that way. So the story, and I know we spoke before you started recording, but the story will be different in 6 months to what it actually is now. It's definitely unfolding.
The journey we touched on that unfolding journey of what things will look like in the future, and trusting and going along this path. And I also want to acknowledge just how beautiful it is to hear the importance of honouring the safety of the participants who come, to our circles or practice or classes, and also just how much I think so many of us in Australia are missing that in-person connection. And I don't know, I'm someone who occasionally feels really zoomed out and really feel that particularly in healing spaces and doing circle, for me it feels really really missed at the moment, is that in-person connection. So I'm hoping that for you and those who are part of your group happens soon, that you can come together.
Well, from my experience with that as well, energy trumps words. So in any exchange, particularly in person, there is an energy exchange as well as an exchange of words. So sometimes it can be more important just to be there with somebody. Yeah, you don't always have to be speaking.
Absolutely, that beautiful holding space and being present with someone. Lovely. Thank you for sharing about what's happening for you at the moment, and in terms of the coaching and doing that side by side, the course. How has that been? I'm intrigued about doing the life coaching at the same time as doing the course. Has it how has it felt doing the two different trainings at the same time? It's
been challenging, and a lot of it has been challenging from a time management point of view. I don't necessarily look at things as time management though. I'm more into looking at it as energy management. Time is a finite commodity, but energy is infinite if you know how to manage it. So the ACMM course I found was very much was a really good mixture of unfolding, going inward, but also at times just doing the work. So it sort of encompasses a lot of different parts of being a human. So, and the life coaching was very much hand in hand with that. So I've been on a bit of a deep dive the last few years. The ACMM course has taken me longer than what I thought it would have initially, but there's a lot of reasons behind that as well. So I've really had to show myself some compassion in that regard as well, to just let things be as they are and know that I will complete the course and it will happen as it is supposed to happen.
Yeah, beautiful. I've got goosebumps. I'm just thinking about, this beautiful, like we said, the unfolding, but also just trusting that journey and the compassion element of it for ourselves. And also want to touch on what you said about energy. Yes, time, we can talk about time as commitment, but in terms of energy, some things really energize us, even though there is a time component to it. And I know that the course with ACMM as a coach, it's so dynamic and there's so many levels to it. So it's nice to hear you share a little bit about that, and also how it's really complemented the training that you've been doing as a life coach as well. Yeah. Lovely. What would you say to someone who's sort of thinking about becoming a meditation teacher, and that's something that's coming up for them? What would be your bit of advice to that person?
My advice for that person would be, as you just said, if it's coming up for them, that it's actually coming up for a reason. I'm very open to the fact that I do receive pieces of guidance, and there is a reason why those pieces of guidance come through. As I go further down the track, it's a bit easier to discern as to where the guidance is actually coming from. Because that was one of the things that I really struggled with, was, is it my heart talking to me or is it my ego? The simplest way that I could put that is that when my heart comes through to me, there's never a negotiation with it. It's just, you should do this, and it's not there's never any sort of covert slant or angle on it. It's just purely a pure message of, here's the guidance, and then it goes away. So it becomes easier. And what I'm finding is the deeper you go with your practice, the more that guidance actually comes through. Sometimes when you least expect it. But there's also been learning for me as well in that when I'm looking for that guidance, is sometimes the guidance is that there's actually no guidance to give. Yeah, so I mean, we laugh and we giggle about that, but yeah, that's how it is sometimes. So, but that would be my advice, is if you're feeling led towards becoming a meditation teacher and towards this course, then there is a reason for that, and you need to follow that, to honour that guidance.
Beautiful. It's trusting that information within yourself, and that wisdom that comes through from our hearts. And I think you mentioned that word purity, that pure truth.
Yes.
Yeah, that really sits with me after you've just shared that. So yeah, lovely, beautiful advice for those who are thinking about it, or like I said, it's come up for them. It's been so beautiful getting to talk to you, Chad, about your experience and journey with meditation and how it's unfolding. I feel like that's our beautiful word to kind of capture this experience, this unfolding for you, and and really excited, and would love to know how it does unfold for you and what comes up in the future. How can people find out more about what you do, or get in touch with you to find out about the beautiful offerings that you have?
I'm on, so they could message me on Facebook. It's the only social media that I actually have, or I do have obviously email and a phone. I'm happy to share those if people want to talk about things, or if they want to look at different things that I'll be doing, because there will be a meditation group for men that I'll be facilitating as well, through a men's hub in Newcastle as well. So that's something that's also been a bit of a little synchronistic thing that's happened as I've been going through this course as well, a little magical reconnection with the guy that I used to play football with. So that's on the cards as well. So yeah, any of those mediums.
Beautiful. And what we'll do is, when we share this, we'll put some of that information in the blog piece, and so people can get in touch with you. I'm sure there will be many who will want to be doing that.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. It's been, like I said, an absolute pleasure, beautiful emotional journey, and just really feeling, so connected to my heart after speaking to you. So yeah, thank you so much, Chad.
No worries. Thank you.